Really, Mark? I mean, this is the group you give me? Okay. Listen, I thought we all might need some help this morning, so I was in the church very early, unbeknownst to Father. So if you'll all reach under your seats, take out the shooter and the can of beer, please. But seriously, stop. I mean, look at you guys. We're in church. What's wrong? Watch people reach under their seats.
Open.
Unbelievable. I mean, you can't do shots of Jägermeister in church. What's wrong with you guys? Yes, I mean, you can't crack Budweiser in church. There it is, Louis. I don't know, Mark. They're your friends. A bunch of degenerates, maybe. I don't know. I think you all need therapy. So let's try that again. Good morning. Good morning. That's better. Listen, I'm hoping there are at least a few among you who are thinking, oh great, we get to hear Ponty speak. But on the other hand, I'm also feeling pretty confident that many of you are thinking, oh great, we get to hear Ponty speak. But then I imagine Mark in heaven with his grandpa, maybe sitting with Mark Keslow, sitting around a quarter barrel of Bud, laughing and saying, I love it. They're trapped like rats, and Ponty's got a microphone. When the family asked me if I would be willing to give a eulogy, I was a little speechless, which doesn't happen often. I was quite sure I was not deserving or even the best person for this special gift. With some reassurance from the family and Amy Cardello, I humbly accepted the honor. On February 9th, 1971, the world, especially those gathered here today, along with many who wanted to be here but couldn't be, received a very special gift. Was the world ready? Were we ready for whom that special gift would become in our lives? Our friends and family member would go on to achieve many great things in his lifetime. Some of those accomplishments include being a member of the Centennial graduating class of Torrington High School in 1989, playing football side by side with his brother Michael, and winning the 1987 first ever NBL championship game, and then to boot, basking in the glory of Michael's last-minute game-winning catch. Trust me, no one was more proud of or happier for Michael than his brother Mark. He was a member of the 29 Club, which we've all heard. He was a 4-year member of Red Raider football team and named team captain by his teammates in senior season. He also starred on the baseball diamond as well and was named captain of his team. He was a member of the varsity club, and he was also named, if you can't imagine, the most popular of the class in 1989. A little pathetic, I don't know. But those are just a few of his many accomplishments. I believe what he was most proud of in his life, though, was his family and his relationship he shared with them. He was so proud of his son Nicholas before he was even born. He cherished his wife Deneen. He looked up to his big brother Michael, and he loved and respected his mother and father as much as any son ever could. Mark Anthony Cardello possessed the amazing ability of being able to bring people together. In life, and even now in his passing, he always managed to gather a crowd and fill a room. Whether it was a backyard 4th of July party featuring Sherman Marsh, where according to Mark, you had to eat the fruit from the punch, or gathering on Thanksgiving morning for stump blowers, an intoxicating concoction of Marks that rendered many incoherent, or any night at PSAM's, where you might see and hear Mark performing his unforgettable rendition of Clarence Carter's classic, Stroking. If you knew Mark was going out, you wanted to be there, because you never knew what might happen, but you were pretty certain something might happen. In preparation for today, I spoke to several of Mark's family and friends. They all shared a common theme. Simply put, Mark was a great guy. He was always there for others, no matter what they needed or when they needed it. His personality and sense of humor were infectious. And when you least expected it, he would just show up and say hi. Mark cared about others, and it's very obvious today how much others cared for him. My wife and children couldn't be here today, but they knew and loved Mark as well. Mark's first words to my wife, Deborah, were, "Are you sure you know what you're getting yourself into?" My boys remember him as Uncle Mark, the beer guy. When my twin boys were born, Mark affectionately dubbed them Thing 1 and Thing 2 in the Dr. Seuss. And whenever he called, he would always refer to them as such. You know, so many of us had such great stories and memories of time spent with Mark. And as I sat and gathered my own, I got excited at the idea of sharing them. I remembered there was a time, and then I thought to myself, wait a minute, that one might be inappropriate for church. Oh, you know what? I know. And then there was the time that Mark, Jim, Kevin, Shree, and I all went down to Waterbury. Yeah, I don't know, wait a minute. No, that one's definitely inappropriate. I know, for sure I can tell the one about the night back in high school when, wait a minute, you know what? I'm not so sure there's not a statute of limitations on that one. Then I thought that surely by now, it would be okay to reveal the whole truth about how the lone tree, which is nowhere near the road, out behind the THS shop and drafting wing, became lodged in the front end, totaling the black Chevy Blazer. Or how my car ended up upside down on its roof, spinning in the middle of Torrey Ford West. But then again, why ruin a perfectly good story that worked? Not to mention years of good faith, right, Mr. C? We all have people in our lives that we know, no matter what happens, they will always be there for us. When I lost my mom at the age of 15, I remember Mrs. C coming through the line. And she made it a point to stop and inform me that from this point forward, the Cardellos would always be there for me. Especially Mark and Michael. From that day forward, no matter where I was or what I needed, Mark was always there. Helping me, or might I say dealing with me, wasn't always the easiest choice for him, I'm sure, but time and time again he made it. When I was getting married, I went to him and I asked him to be my best man. He smiled at me, and having known all the family ups and downs I had suffered, he said, "Are you sure you don't want to ask one of your brothers?" And I paused for a moment, and I responded by saying, "Oh, I just did." He hugged me and he said, "Okay, kid, I know, I get it." And that was Mark. Always understanding, yet sometimes even downplaying his own importance in other people's lives. I want us to all understand that even though our friend is no longer physically here, he will always be with us. He will live on in our memories, our shared stories, and most importantly, our hearts. And so this is where I thought our story ended, Mark and me. And now I was on my own. But it seems Mark had one more story for me. You know, when you live in South Florida and unexpectedly find yourself having to travel to the frigid Northeast in January, I mean, seriously, people, I gotta ask, what's wrong with you guys? Why do you still live here? I mean, there's no beach, there's no sand, there's no palm trees. It's a cold, dark hole. And I mean, seriously, and just in case none of you have caught me on HGTV's hit show, House Hunters, I'd be happy to sell you something in paradise. See me after. Okay, where was it? Oh yeah, Antarctica. I don't get it why you guys live here, but suddenly you realize you no longer have the appropriate clothing to come north, especially for a formal occasion. But you remember that nice warm overcoat that your father gave you. But where is it, you think? Then you remember it's packed away in his face bag in the attic. Upon retrieving it, you realize it's going to need to be dry cleaned and pressed in less than 24 hours. No problem. You go to your local cleaner that you use all the time, and they say we can't do it. Now what? You have no idea what I'm going to do until someone in my office tells me about the little cleaners in the closet next door that I had no idea was there. Find the number, you call them, you tell them what you need, and that you have to travel to Torrington, Connecticut, and what you please, you hope they can do for you. And then the woman on the other end of the phone says, Torrington, that's where I'm from. You hang up, you rush right over, and when you walk through the door, a woman with a warm smile greets you and says, so why are you going to tea time? When you mention the name Mark Cardello, a small tear forms in her eye, and she says, my husband Deacon and I, Deacon's not his real name, she says, but everybody calls him Deacon. Deacon Romanello. We're just shocked and devastated when we heard the news. She says, we just love Mark. She says, the code will be ready by 4 p.m. tomorrow. Maybe it's just all a coincidence. Maybe it was Mark's way of letting me know that he will still always be there for me. Either way, he will forever be a part of me and a part of my life. And I know he will be a part of yours. Gone, but never forgotten, the legend of Louis will live on to us all.